You found the GroomPod. Welcome to our virtual salon. My name is Susie, and I'm your host. I'm a mobile groomer from Seattle, Washington, and anybody who knows me will tell you I love to talk, especially about my job. And one of my favorite people to talk to is my friend and mentor and the co-star of this show, the curator of ingredients, Miss Barbara Bird. Hello, groomers. This is Susie, your co-host. Barbara is taking the week off as she gets settled into her new home. And so I've assembled 3 segments from previous episodes that I thought would be fun for you guys to listen to. The first one is about giving exceptional customer service. The second is about Ophytrium, which is the active ingredient in Duoxo shampoo. And the third segment is about hypoallergenic and what that means. So I hope you enjoy this and stay tuned for more new content next week. Happy grooming! If you're looking for a software solution for your shop, mobile, or house call, GroomMore is it. It has online booking and online forms and intake or matted dog forms, payment processing, reminders and wait lists, inventory, routing, calendar, and QuickBooks syncs, and most importantly, 24-hour service.
Show Season has a great enzymatic cleaner called Kennel Fresh. And you dilute it with warm water and it smells good, and then it evaporates to be a deodorant. As the Kennel Fresh dries, it's enzymatic, it eats the bacteria and the odor source. So it's really good stuff. You can use it indoors or out.
Find it at your local distributors or showseasongrooming.com.
Ready, groomers? Here comes our first appointment. I consider myself a good enough groomer who provides exceptional service. I was thinking about it this morning. What do I do that sets me apart from other groomers? Can I improve on the service level I provide? We talk a lot about the actual grooming and about products, but what about the service? As is my method, I went to the internet and I found some pointers, but we're throwing those out because they sucked. And we're going to just roll on with our own shit. In our everyday lives, we're bombarded with average service. Thus the name average, right? And I want to be exceptional. I want to provide exceptional service. Barbara, let's talk about exceptional service.
One of the things that I think is very important is, like, right as they open the door, you want to create a friendly image. You want to be friendly. You might not be feeling very friendly. Maybe you got up on the wrong side of the bed and all of that kind of stuff. Or, maybe your dog took a dump in the middle of the living room and you're feeling pretty grouchy today. But when that customer walks in, you want to put that aside and just, hi there, thanks for coming in. How you doing today? Hi, Sparky. You're a good boy?
Fake it till you make it.
Fake it till you make it, and you need to learn how to fake it sincerely. It's not that hard. All need to have a few little acting skills. Acting skills translate into really good customer service. And acting skills are really being mindful of what you're projecting outward. So the actor is really introspective in a sense of she's thinking about, what is my body saying? What is my hair saying? What is my eyes? Where am I looking? She's really mindful of all of the aspects of what she's putting out to the other, whoever that is. And that's acting. So we can do that.
Oh, I can do that. I'm really good at that.
I'm really, really good on the phone, and I'm not bad in person.
Remember, people used to always say smile when you talk on the phone. It's true. You can hear the smile through the phone.
Right.
And I can see it, so take my word for it. Barbara's got a nice big grin, and both of us really enjoy what we're doing here, and hopefully that comes across to you guys as well. So definitely make a warm and friendly impression. It's not all about the outward, is it? There's a whole listening component involved in being really good.
Listening is absolutely crucial, and there's a difference between listening and hearing.
Huh?
You can hear
What?
something somebody says.
Sorry. Carry on. I'm being silly.
Go ahead. I didn't catch it. You were so quick. To really get clear what they expect out of the grooming, and you don't have to make it a big procedural event. Like, and on the feet, what would you like? And on the legs, and, but you really want to get the overall what they want out of the grooming and then execute that. So here we are back to the lady yesterday who had the big oversized Bichon, and she shows up with a picture of a before and after toy poodle face with long ears. Last time she was here, which was just a month ago, she's returned real quickly. That was good. Spent a half an hour with her talking about. She said, "I hear you're the Bichon expert," and then she's wanting me to do a cap on the head, and apparently, even though she gave me a really good feedback on the last groom, apparently I didn't quite nail it, because here she brings the toy poodle face. It just doesn't fit, but I know what she wants. She wants the over the top of the ears and the poodle head fairly high, don't cut off too much, and she wants this oval kind of sculpted face, but not cheeky like a Bichon.
You really have to listen to the behind the words part of it. Sometimes what they want isn't really right out there on Front Street, but it is around the back alley, and you've got to pick and choose and listen and watch and kind of decode what they're saying.
You know what made it harder for me to deal with this person? I'm going to be honest with you. Her appearance was kind of strange.
For you to say that, I can't imagine what it must have looked like.
She's a 50-ish woman with a tanning addiction. So she was dark brown, rather cracked and wrinkled face. She had on this kind of like white lipstick.
Wow. Well, that's a look. It's something.
It was a look, yeah. I was so drawn to the lipstick that I could hardly look her in the eyes. I mean, that silver white lipstick, it just kept like, look at me. Oh, look at me. I know I was really friendly. I was really gracious. I was really glad she was happy. She's going on vacation and she'll be back and yada, yada, yada. Have a great vacation. Bye now. You know what? You notice that many of the stores, the clerks that are standing there, the cashiers that are standing there, have been trained to say hello when you walk in the door.
Yeah, sometimes I find that okay, and sometimes I find it a little creepy. I
agree. But, you don't know what you look like, friendly or unfriendly, when you're just standing there. But as soon as they welcome, you change a little bit. Because you could be standing there inside of your head, having an argument with your significant other, you son of a fucking bitch. And what does it look like on your face? Son of a fucking bitch. That's what shows on your face. And they open the door and like, oh, well, oops.
I have the tendency to look like a bag lady.
So the corporate suits know that as soon as you say, hi, welcome, that it's going to at least break that other thing I won't say for a third time.
Yes, I am. I often look like a bag lady, and I get it. I have a fanny pack, I wear dark clothes, I have a dirty coat on, and I look like a bag lady. So when somebody says hello to me, I figure they're just making sure I'm not stealing what I always figure. So one of the ways I provide exceptional customer service is by being generous when I can. And I try to be generous with my education and my knowledge in the vet industry and in animal behavior. And I also try to be generous in my flexibility, because that's one of the things I can be. I'm not the greatest groomer in the world, but I can be pretty flexible with my scheduling and my canceling and my time and, the little things like dropping by to do the nail trim between the two appointments and that kind of a thing. And I think that is one way I can go the extra mile over maybe some of the other groomers, because I've got to define myself as a little bit different, because my grooming doesn't do that. My dog handling does, but my grooming doesn't necessarily.
I'm very glad that I've reached a point where I can be more patient and more flexible with the customers who come more than 10 minutes late. They text me. My pet peeve is customers don't text, but mostly they text me and say, I had to run over and take care of my mom this morning. I'm about 30 minutes late. And I say, no worries.
Me too. No problem at all.
And so they can just breathe and relax and just deal with what they got to deal with out there without you adding pressure and all of that. Now, sometimes you just can't do that, but you can be generous in other ways. And be generous with your knowledge is really tricky.
Yes.
Tricky because they didn't sign up for the seminar.
It has to be wanted. They have to instigate it, not me. If they instigate it, if they come up and say, hey, what do you think? And I always represent it as what it is. I'm not a vet. I'm not giving you vet advice. What I'm telling you is what I would do if it was my pet. And that's kind of how I frame it. And everybody knows I worked for many, 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 many years in the vet industry and takes what I say with that in mind. But I also, as a person working at a vet hospital, was the receptionist for many years, and I know what I'm allowed to say and what I can't say. So I'm very careful about how I frame what I give. But oftentimes I can say, your dog is having a tummy ache. Is it throwing up? No? Well, try withholding food for 12 hours and then let me know how it is tomorrow, and I'll tell you if you need to go into the vet. I might save them $85. That's pretty cool. If I can do that and the dog is safe still and I haven't done anything that goes outside of my ethics, which means being the vet. I'm not the vet. I'm not even the vet tech anymore. I'm just someone who has some good instincts. So I do that. What else are other good ways that we can be giving exceptional service? I know one. Being timely in the solution to their problems. Like, I have a tendency to ignore my phone a little bit. I'm very bad that way these days. Barbara, I know you can relate. When somebody needs to reschedule their appointment, for me, it's an ordeal. I've got to find them a spot. It takes a good 5 or 10 minutes of me searching around, trying to find a location that's going to fit for them and fit for me within their requirements and my schedule and routing. But I do always try to get back to them and tell them if they need to change their appointment, at least that I've acknowledged that they're changing their appointment, because then they can go out and about their business.
A point that I'd like to stick in there is that I think part of exceptional customer service is reminders.
Oh, well, I do that.
And I do that. But, there are still many groomers who resist reminding clients. They would just rather get mad when they don't show up or fine them or whatever, or shame them in some way, It just adds tension and everything. So I've gone back to using my Store Vantage on my computer, and I can do it on my phone. Store Vantage is upgraded enough that I can sit in my air-conditioned room and upgrade schedule. I'm kind of trying to reinstitute that and keep that being real good, because my customers really appreciate reminders.
My schedule's so tight that if you miss an appointment, it could be 3 weeks. You might even have to come back the next month. You just never know.
Yeah, and that's another thing about being friendly. If you're friendly, your customers are more likely to call you and tell you that they've got to skip the appointment. They're not going to resist talking with you. You're friendly, and they feel accepted and empathized with to some extent.
Another way I can try to provide exceptional customer service is when the person, the customer, the owner, has a perceived grooming emergency. The perceived emergency, because it's really about what they think, not about what we think, right? The dog has all of a sudden gotten tangled or ran underneath the car or into the ashes or, jumped in the swimming pool or, heaven forbid, got skunked. I will try, as long as it's not very often, to help that person out, because that's one of the things I can do. It's not that difficult most of the time. I might have to stay up a little later or go out a little earlier or maybe work on my day off. But if I can take care of their perceived emergency, I'm golden. Excellent. And usually get rewarded with a big tip.
Well, I had a perceived, it wasn't an emergency, but a perceived problem a couple of weeks ago. We pre-booked an appointment. This is for Oompa.
Oh, Oompa.
With the wings for ears.
Yes.
And we emphasize that little feature, and he's so cute. And his person is really nice and friendly. Well, pre-booked it on a day where Dave was working, not a day when Yvonne was working. And she got back to me, and she said, I would rather have an appointment when your woman, what's her name, is there with you. They never can remember Yvonne's name. Okay. And she said, Oompa doesn't really like men.
That's perfect. That's exactly a perceived issue.
It was a perceived issue. And Dave, of course, says, what the fuck, I'm gay. And I said, no problem. Can you come in on the 24th or something? She said, no, leave on that day. And so I said, well, okay, I'll come in on Thursday, the 23rd, or Thursday, the day before you have to leave, and I'll do a fuck. And then I'll go home, and you'll have a clean dog, and I'll have some money. And she said, well, I don't want to put you out. I had to reassure her that it wasn't an inconvenience. I was delighted to come in on my day off. No, on Thursday. We don't mention day off, just maybe once.
Let's wrap this thing up I'm just going to throw this one out here. One of my favorite ways to end an exchange with a client is after they say thank you, I always say my pleasure, because it truly is my pleasure to take care of their pet. It's my pleasure to collect the money. It's my pleasure to be part of their life. Every bit of it brings me pleasure. And I want them to know that in a big way. So that's my last little tip.
That's a good one. I like that.
Thank you. I like hearing it. And when I noticed that I liked hearing it, I implemented it. And I have great response with that. I really enjoy putting that out there. All right, let us take a break, and then we'll be back with our back to school segment. The GroomPod and Precision Sharp would like to invite you to check out the newest Precise Cut shear called Lynx. Its patented design features a thumb ring that slides the length of the handle for perfect ergonomic placement of your thumb. Slide it, lock it into place, and get your best grooms on. Check it out at precisionsharp.com. All right.
Interesting that we're talking about these problems, because I was asked by a groomer to weigh in on a novel kind of new ingredient that's used by Duoxo in their several medicated shampoo products. And the name of the ingredient was Ophytrium. One of the things I like about it, it's a true active ingredient. So let's clarify for a minute, what's the difference between an active ingredient and an additive?
Good question. I don't know.
Yeah, I do.
That's why we have you here.
So an active ingredient is an ingredient that it's a therapeutic agent. It's going to cause an effect. It's active.
Got it.
Right? And an additive is kind of an also ran. So the active is the main engine, right? Main part of the engine. And an additive is kind of like the mud flaps. Well, no, that's not good. But the additives kind of add flair and personality and character and trust, serve the appearance of the product.
Let's liken it to cooking a steak. The steak is the active ingredient and the additives are like the seasonings you put on it.
Yeah.
Hey, I got one.
So we'll find an analogy for you.
I get a bell.
So, good girl. So Ophytrium is an active ingredient, and it's naturally extracted from the root of the Japanese mondo grass plant.
Oh, I have mondo grass in my yard.
Okay, well, I'm not going to read the technical name because it's too hard for me to pronounce.
Uh-oh.
So, but it comes from the Japanese mondo grass plant, and it helps to maintain the mechanical skin barrier and preserves the microbial flora.
Cool.
It's definitely an ingredient for me, and it has been scientifically tested. So that's another score, right? Another score one for that ingredient. And it's been utilized by Duoxo only. They're the only manufacturers, only place where you find it. And Duoxo has incorporated Ophytrium as one of its main additives in its selection of medicated shampoos. And here's a cool thing that they've done. They not only have the shampoo, but they have a mousse with the Ophytrium and pads that combine chlorhexidine and this Ophytrium. So you can use the shampoo and then just use the pads or the mousse at home without a bath.
That's helpful.
That's really helpful. And that's going to get pet parent protocol followed at home much better than expecting ordinary pet owners to bathe their dog every 3 days. This Ophytrium and chlorhexidine combination as used in the Duoxo, it's been tested and actually found to be that it actually has an action on the mechanical, biological, and immunological skin barriers. So it's been established by at least some peer-reviewed published science. Cool, huh?
Yeah, I wonder why only Duoxo is using it. It seems like it would be a really helpful...
Well, I think because they kind of discovered it.
Oh.
They probably patented their formulas. So I would watch for this ingredient to show up more in skincare because it really combines the use of antimicrobials with the use of, flora, bioflora. God, here I am way deep in the rabbit hole. Microbiome. I'm swimming here. I'm swimming in my own conversation. So listen, it strengthens the good stuff as well as killing the bad stuff. Because what concerns me is when we do shampoo, Mike, when we do medicinal shampoos every 3 days, we're over shampooing. in effort to apply the active ingredient.
And I was wondering about that when you're using something like a benzoyl peroxide shampoo where it's stripping everything off.
Oh, yeah, it is too much. I mean, it's challenging the skin and hair. And, who knows what it's doing to the hair.
Yeah.
Just shampooing it. Fortunately, most medicated shampoos are kind of a little on the mild side of the cleaning spectrum. But even a mild shampoo, doing it every 3 days without a conditioner is likely to cause some aging of the hair.
Yeah, definitely.
And maybe even drying out of the skin. So I just think it's counterproductive. I really like this idea of having a single shampoo followed by using the mousse or the skin pad. So what happened? Oh, listen to this. I liked it so much. I liked this ingredient so much that I bought the pads.
Oh.
I've been using them on my feet.
Oh, okay. I love it.
I'm sorry, folks. When you're 82 years old, and you know what? I keep trying to erase the year and call myself 81, but let's face it, it's 82 now. And so I have this weird condition that happens on my feet where my toes turn blue and my heel turns blue.
Ew.
And the skin, well, it just kind of breaks. It gets these funny little circular places where it looks bruised and the skin starts to break. And so I thought, you know what? I don't care. The chlorhexidine is great. I'll just use these as cleaning pads and just load on the Ophytrium.
You caught the disease I have, the can't pronounce things disease.
I know. Well, that's because I'm just swimming around in my conversation.
I know.
And I swallowed some water. Ophytrium. And it's helping.
Really?
Yes.
I wonder if it would help my split up hands.
I don't know, but it's helping. I think it's a good product, and I would recommend it to my vet.
Let me tell you about Best Shot's newest addition to the Ultramax Pro line. Ultramax Hair Hold is a flexible hairspray that can be layered on for a stronger hold. Ultramax Hair Hold spray is great, but my favorite new product is called the Max, and I won't groom without it. It's a fragrance-free ultra-concentrate conditioner and detangler. It reduces drying time and handles undercoat and tangles like magic. Just a few drops in the final rinse or spray it on and dry it in. Contact your favorite Best Shot distributor or learn more online at bestshotpet.com. Grooming success begins with Best Shot in your tub. Made from the best stuff on earth.
Groomers, take your seats. School is about to begin.
Hypoallergenic has a tendency to be misunderstood, and what a great topic you've chosen for this morning's discussion.
And I wanted to go back and review with people because we've talked about some of these topics before, but people come into the conversation at different points and don't ever get it. The whole picture. So before we talk about hypoallergenic, I want to run past our differences between irritation, inflammation, and allergy.
Good idea.
It's important that we be able to kind of recognize these conditions when they come up in our grooming. So irritation is defined as the presence of redness and pain, and it can be provoked by numerous causes. Like we can irritate with the clippers, or we can irritate by detergents not being rinsed out properly from coats. Harsh cleansing agents such as found in deep cleaning shampoos, clarifying shampoos, and degreasers, when not thoroughly rinsed or when left to soak too long, can cause skin irritation. Almost all shampoos can cause eye irritation because of the tender nature of the eye tissue. Irritation is a direct response. It is not mediated by the immune system. It's usually immediate or shortly thereafter the provocation, such as clipper irritation. We see it almost right away, hopefully. Never hurts to hold that belly up and look again before they go home, I'll tell you. Inflammation is defined as the presence of redness, swelling, heat, and pain. Has to have all four elements. When one of these four aspects is missing, we don't call it inflammation. Inflammation is a response that is mediated by the immune system. It can be the consequence of aggression such as bacterial infection or traumatisms. Untreated irritations can develop inflammation, and that's an indication of infection, bacterial infection. Allergy is not a symptom. It is a phenomenon that provokes symptoms such as irritation or inflammation, and sometimes also anaphylactic reactions. It's a term that was coined way back when to refer to hypersensitivity reactions that occur in a minority of individuals. So allergies are not for everybody. They're for a few. One of the things that makes allergies hard to pin down is that they can take hours or even days to fully develop, depending on the source and the immune system. So, the dog's immune system or the person's immune system is an important factor in the allergic response or in the allergy picture. There are several types of ingredients in shampoos and conditioners that can trigger allergic reactions in rare individuals that might be hypersensitive. And of course, if you have a hypersensitive dog, you want to avoid that. The term hypoallergenic is nearly meaningless.
Dun, dun, dun.
Dun, 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 dun. The term hypoallergenic is nearly meaningless. It is used for marketing value to create a positive psychological response to a product. We want people to think it's safe. So we read hypoallergenic and we think, oh, good, it's not going to cause an allergic reaction. Not true.
Bull patties.
Yeah, bull patties. A manufacturer can greatly reduce the risk of a product triggering a reaction, but because there is no industry standard of the claim of hypoallergenic, there is no way to rule out every individual. You can test 600 people and say only 5 out of 600 people had a response to a patch test, but you can't test all 6,500,022 individuals in a group to say that that will never cause an allergic reaction to any individual. You can't rule out everybody, every possibility with the term, with clever or creative and even mindful manufacturing. Mindful manufacturing is different than the manufacturers that just market the term, just use the claim because there is no way to legislate the claim. Am I making any sense? Some manufacturers use the claim hypoallergenic without integrity. It's up to us to figure out which company is real and which company is selling bull patties.
Right.
It's up to us. Now, one of the main ingredients that's been acknowledged as causing allergic response is fragrance oils, perfumes, fragrances, and there has emerged now a term of hypoallergenic fragrance. Is this a real thing?
Well, Dave Campanella said it was.
I think it is.
Okay.
So even though I have just gone at great length to tell you that hypoallergenic is bullshit, I'm now going to tell you that hypoallergenic fragrance is a thing. There are two ways that a company can that a fragrance company can make or create a hypoallergenic fragrance. First of all, we have to realize that hypoallergenic means less likely to cause allergic reactions. It doesn't mean never likely to cause an allergic reaction. There are chemical components of fragrances that have been identified by clinical testing to be allergens or substances that trigger allergic reactions. There is also a thing called allergic threshold. So a substance can be an allergen, but can be in such a small amount that is below the threshold of being able to cause a reaction. And it's like 1/1000th in a leave-on conditioner and 1/100th in a rinse-off. One of the things that a fragrance manufacturer can do to reduce the allergic potential of a fragrance is to avoid using the components that have been shown to be allergens. And the European Union in 2003 published a list of 26 clearly identified fragrance allergens. And these are chemicals that are also found in some essential oils. So essential oils are not an alternative, necessarily a safe alternative to synthetic fragrances, because synthetic fragrances can utilize the components of essential oils that have been identified as allergens. Am I making sense?
Yes.
And since 2003, about 84 more substances, 50 some perfume or fragrance, synthetic fragrance substances, and some 20 or 30 natural extract have been identified as likely to cause reactions. So you just would try to create a fragrance that doesn't use the worst of those, maybe only uses tiny teensy amounts of some of those. D-limonene is one of those. I'm going to remind you that D-limonene is one of those fragrance elements or components, also component of many essential oils, that has been identified as a potent allergen.
Yes. I actually react to that with respiratory problems.
Well, that's another sign of allergic reaction. That a respiratory reaction is another allergic response that I didn't list, but it is true, especially of humans. Yeah, there are humans that you can't breathe when you're faced with something. So the other thing about D-limonene that I've noticed in my studies is that, and fragrance manufacturers know this, is that it's very easily oxidized by air. So it loses shelf life fast, and not only does it become oxidated, but the oxidated D-limonene is way more sensitizing or likely to cause an allergic reaction than the original D-limonene. So in a product that's left with lid off or open and closed a lot, or there's a lot of air in the bottle or anything like that, the D-limonene in that fragrance can oxidize enough to become a potent sensitizer for animals or people. The other way that a fragrance manufacturer can create a hypoallergenic or less likely to cause a problem fragrance is to create a more complex fragrance. a fragrance with more elements in it, actually more chemical components. And this is something that's been happening in the pet grooming products arena over the last several years. We've noticed we've gone from one note fragrances to many note fragrances. We've gone from plain lemon scented to lemon vanilla mist, right?
Right.
Right.
Very,
Right.
yeah, I never noticed it, but you're absolutely right.
Yeah, so this just recently occurred to me that this trend in more complex, more sophisticated, I call it more sophisticated, more multiple faceted, fascinating fragrances is actually reducing the likelihood of there being enough of any kind of a sensitizer to trip an allergic reaction. Isn't that interesting?
I love it because I'm allergic to lots of things in the environment, so I
So,
understand. Yeah,
yeah,
that one
so,
one of the things my allergist told me is that
uh,
allergies are like a coffee cup. And if you just keep loading in the allergens, eventually you're going to overflow and have a big reaction. And what you're saying is if you're using tiny, teeny pieces of stuff, you'll never overflow that cup to the point at which you'll have that reaction. So it
right.
makes
I
sense.
mean, fragrance allergy reactions are not like peanut allergic reactions. And see, we tend to because we've learned so much about how deadly peanut allergies are, we tend to think that everything that's an allergen is going to cause a huge overload reaction by the slightest little manufactured in the same company that uses lemon. But that's not going to happen. That won't happen. They're not like that. So there's thresholds. There's no thresholds in the peanut allergy thing. The slightest little.
So this brings up a story about my mom because it is, just about it'll be Mother's Day. Mother's Day will be done by the time you guys hear this, but I'll tell a little story about my mom. All of her life, she loved to eat seafood. We're boaters. We catch the fish, and she would, well, not fish, but seafood and clams and stuff like that my mom and dad would eat. And one day we're having lunch in a restaurant, and my mother has some crab. And lo and behold, somewhere along the line, she became allergic to shellfish. And her lips started to swell up, like she had collagen implants in her lips. And I, being the horrible child I was, start to laugh at her. I'm laughing. She's in the middle of an allergic reaction that actually could turn into something respiratory, and all I can do is look at her and laugh hysterically in this fancy restaurant as my mother's lips blow up. Luckily, I carry Benadryl, so I gave her a Benadryl, and half an hour, 45 minutes later, her lips started to go down. But it was hysterical. So I miss my mom. Happy Mother's Day, Mom. I'm a bad child. I just laughed. It was awful.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else you want to tell us about hypoallergism?
I think that just drove out any further thoughts that I might have.
All right, good enough. You can imagine my mother with her big fat lips. Okay, well, it's been absolutely spectacular hanging with you, Barbara. It's always such good groomer therapy for me, and I enjoy it so very much. But you guys, you listeners, you podcast Groom Pack, let me know what you think we should do for our 300th show, which will be in a couple more shows. So you got a couple weeks to decide. Let us know on the Facebook group what you think would be fun. Support our sponsors. Tip your groomer. Happy grooming, everybody. Barbara.
Happy grooming, Susie. And listeners, thank you all for your support. Have we told people lately how they can support the GroomPod?
Oh, probably, but let me tell them again. If you go to our website, thegroompod.com, there are some links on that page. One of the links goes to Chewy. If you do some shopping through Chewy, it won't cost you anything else, but they do send us an occasional check with a commission. So we appreciate that. That's why we mention it on the show every time we start. Also, if you just like to flat out send us a tip, you can do so by the donation button that's in the middle of the podcast page, and just hit that and it will accept your donation. That'll go straight to us that way. And the third way is by becoming a Patreon patron. And you just go to the Patreon website, search for the GroomPod, and it will pop up, and you can then support us on a monthly basis for the lovely 297 hours of grooming education we've put out there, and fun and entertainment and all of the above, and also help put food on Barbara's plate. There you go. We like that.
Thank you. I totally appreciate your support, everybody. Thank you very much.
Thanks, guys. See you next week on the GroomPod. Bye-bye.
Bye now.